Let's begin with a difficult truth, the kind most people feel but rarely articulate. You didn't fall for her because of who she is. You fell for her because of what she awakens in you. That sudden pull, that magnetic force, that undeniable chemistry. It's not about her smile, or her voice, or even her body. It's deeper, much deeper. It's about what she mirrors inside your psyche. Carl Jung called it the Anima, the inner woman every man carries within his unconscious, the blueprint of your desire, the reason why, out of 1,000 faces, hers hits differently. But before you think this is just about love or lust, listen closely. This is about identity, about the hidden architecture of your soul. You don't just fall in love with someone, you project. And what you project is the most powerful illusion you will ever face. She becomes the screen onto which your inner world is cast. And that's the most dangerous part, because what you're attracted to isn't real. According to Jung, the Anima is not a person. She's a psychic force, an archetype. She's been inside you since birth, shaped by the feminine energy of your mother, molded by the women you admired, and fed by the culture that defined beauty, mystery, and affection. She is chaos and comfort, desire and fear. And when a woman enters your life who carries a resemblance, not physical, but energetic, to this inner anima, you fall. You don't fall in love. You fall into a projection. Now here's where it gets darker. Because Jung didn't stop at romance. He believed that your anima, if unintegrated, can ruin you. She can make you chase illusions. She can make you weak. She can dominate your will. She doesn't care if the woman in front of you is good for you, only that she feels familiar, that she matches the ideal your unconscious craves. So what happens? You meet someone. You get that click, that spark, that sensation you can't explain. But it's not about compatibility. It's about chemistry. And chemistry is not truth. It's memory. It's projection. It's the unconscious saying, she feels like the version of love I've always imagined. And you lose control. You pedestal her. You obsess. You overgive. You betray yourself. And you suffer. Because the woman you think you love is only partly real. The rest of her is made of your unresolved past. Jung warned that if a man does not confront his anima, she will control him from within. She will make him emotional, reactive, irrational, needy, weak, addicted to beauty, hungry for validation, and blind to red flags. He won't love women. He will worship the fantasy of them. And that is not love. That is possession. That is self-destruction. Now pause, because maybe this already sounds like your story. Maybe you're remembering the girl you couldn't forget, the one you still dream about, the one who felt like home, even though she shattered you. Ask yourself, was it really love? Or was it your unconscious craving, the woman who most closely mirrored your inner void? Jung believed that the anima isn't evil, but she is dangerous. She's meant to be integrated, not projected. She's meant to teach you about your own depths, not rule you through infatuation. And here's where everything shifts. Because the moment you become aware of her, the illusion starts to crack. You begin to realize you weren't choosing women. You were choosing wounds. You were choosing patterns, You were chasing closure through connection. The women you loved were teachers. But not because of who they were, because of what they triggered. That ache, that yearning, that emptiness. Jung wrote that to truly become whole, a man must descend into the depths of his unconscious. He must face the Anima. He must learn to see her clearly, not to banish her, but to understand her, to integrate her into his conscious self, because only then will he stop confusing women for salvation. Only then will he stop searching for a mother, a muse, or a mirror, and start relating to women as human beings, not fantasies. When you integrate your Anima, you stop falling for illusions. You stop confusing chaos for chemistry. You stop needing her to validate your worth, because you've reclaimed what she once represented. Sensitivity, creativity, intuition, wholeness. You become the man who is no longer hypnotized by beauty, but sees it clearly. The man who no longer needs her love to feel complete, because he's already whole. And let me tell you, that man is rare. He is dangerous, because he cannot be manipulated by attention. He does not chase drama. He does not collapse under rejection. He loves without losing himself. He walks away when his peace is threatened, not because he doesn't feel, but because he finally understands what he's feeling. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. When you think about her, is it love or is it projection? Did she truly deserve your loyalty? Or did she just carry the shape of the woman your inner world longed for? Until you ask this, you will fall again, and again, and again, each time calling it fate, each time calling it love, when in truth, it was just your unconscious pulling strings, feeding you dreams, keeping you asleep. Carl Jung didn't teach us to fear the Anima. He taught us to face her, to question our instincts, to separate truth from trance, to realize that the most powerful force in a man's life is not a woman. It's his idea of her. And that is what keeps him a boy. But now, you're not a boy anymore. You're awakening. And once you awaken, you cannot unknow. You begin to see differently. You begin to choose differently. You begin to reclaim the parts of yourself you thought only she could give you. You realize the feeling you were chasing in her was always waiting to be found in you. And that is when everything begins to change. You've awakened. You've seen the pattern. You understand now that your desire has never been random. It has always been precise, predictable, designed by the blueprint of your unconscious. And this changes everything. You no longer walk through life blindly, pulled by attraction, like a leaf in the wind. You begin to watch yourself. And that is where true power begins. Because the moment you observe your desire, you no longer become enslaved by it. Carl Jung knew that the moment you pause before the pull, before the infatuation, before the obsession, you open a doorway to mastery. You're not rejecting emotion. You're decoding it. You're not shaming your attraction. You're trying to understand what it's trying to show you. Because let's be honest, that woman you fell for, the one who intoxicated you, the one who filled your mind when you were trying to sleep, what did she really offer? Was it love? Or was it the illusion of something finally being complete? Jung would say, it was neither. She was a messenger. She carried the scent of your forgotten self, the parts of your soul you disowned, your creativity, your vulnerability, your softness, your trust, your need to be held, to be seen, not as a man who must conquer the world, but as a human who longs to rest. And she awakened it all. But here's the paradox. When you haven't made peace with those inner pieces, you won't recognize them as yours. You'll think she brought them. You'll think she gave you that feeling. You'll believe she is the missing half. And that's how men lose themselves. They abandon their power to worship the woman who simply reflected their unlived self. So what's the cure? Integration, shadow work, reflection, silence. You must ask the questions most men never dare to ask. What is it I really want from her? What is the emotion I'm chasing? What do I think she completes inside me? Because if you can name it, you can claim it. You can go find it within. And that is the work. This is why Jung's work was so feared, so misunderstood, because it required brutal honesty. It required you to admit, I was never in love with her. I was in love with what she made me feel. And even that was never about her. It was about me, what I longed for, what I feared, what I gave away. This is the moment you start to reclaim your soul. You remember, she isn't the light. She was the mirror. You are the light. And this realization, as empowering as it is, can break you. Because you'll start to revisit every love you ever thought was real. Every heartbreak you called destiny. Every what if you held on to. And you'll see it all for what it was. Not fate, but psychology. Not magic, but memory. Not her, but you. This can create grief. You'll feel the death of 1,000 illusions. You'll want to run back to the comfort of the dream. But don't. Stay awake. Stay grounded. You are not dying. You are being reborn. Because now, when you meet a woman, you will not project. You will perceive. You will not fall. You will connect. You will not worship. You will witness, and she will feel it. She will feel that you don't need her, and that will make her respect you. She will feel that you are whole, and that will make her curious. She will feel that you see her clearly, and that will scare her, because most people have never truly been seen. But this is where real relationships begin. Not in fantasy, not in trauma bonding, not in codependency, but in clarity. When a man knows who he is, the game changes. He no longer dates to escape loneliness. He no longer fears rejection. He no longer fights for attention, because he no longer gives himself away for crumbs of validation. He brings presence. He brings depth. He brings stillness. And that, my friend, is rare. That is what the world doesn't prepare you for. They teach you how to chase, how to impress, how to seduce. But no one teaches you how to be still. How to see a woman for who she is, and decide from wholeness if she belongs in your life. That kind of man is powerful because he's not ruled by hormones, trauma, or projections. He is ruled by clarity. And clarity is a weapon in a world addicted to illusion. So let me ask you again. Who are you really attracted to? Her or the version of you she brings to life? And if that's the case, why not bring that version of you to life on your own? Why not awaken your creativity without her? Why not return to your depth, your softness, your chaos, and own it? Why not become the man you keep hoping she will see? Because that's the secret. When you stop needing her to validate your soul, you become magnetic. Not because you're trying, but because you're real. And people, they don't trust perfection. They don't trust performance. But they trust presence. They trust wholeness. They trust the man who no longer seeks outside what he's already found within. That man is rare. That man is grounded. That man is free. And when he finally chooses to love, it's not from a wound. It's not from a script. It's not from projection. It's from truth. It's from strength. It's from wholeness. And that kind of love is not just rare. It's unshakable. And now, we arrive at the final transformation. You've pulled back the veil. You've stood at the edge of your desire and refused to fall into it blindly. But the journey doesn't end with awareness. It begins there. Because now, you must learn how to live with this new understanding. Not as a concept, but as a practice. A new foundation for how you relate to women and to yourself. You see, one of Jung's most powerful ideas was this: the things we fail to integrate will return, not as choices, but as fate. Which means, if you don't consciously choose to work with your projections, they will choose you, over and over again. That's why men keep falling for the same kind of woman. That's why heartbreak feels like a cycle, not an isolated event. Because the psyche is always trying to complete the circle, always trying to restore what you've left behind. And if you don't integrate the Anima, the feminine side of your psyche, you will spend your entire life seeking her out in every woman you meet. This is not romantic. This is tragic. Because what you're really doing is outsourcing your soul. You're asking someone else to carry what you've disowned. And they can't. It's not their job. It was never meant to be. So how do you integrate her? Not by chasing, not by finding the right woman, not by seduction or validation, but by going inward, by inviting in the parts of you that are soft, emotional, chaotic, intuitive, and allowing them to coexist with the masculine traits you've been taught to idolize. That's the alchemy Jung spoke of. That's individuation. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness, my friend, is magnetic in a way that no surface charm can ever be. Because now, you're not a man looking to be completed. You are a man who stands complete and invites others in without demand. That shifts everything. You're no longer enslaved by romantic longing. You're no longer paralyzed by rejection. You're no longer obsessed with why she doesn't want you. Because now you ask a more powerful question. Do I even want her? Now that I see clearly. This is where many men fall silent, because the fantasy no longer holds. And what's left behind is not just clarity, but grief. Grief for the years spent chasing illusions. Grief for the emotional energy spent trying to win someone's attention. Grief for the parts of yourself you abandoned to seem more desirable. This grief is sacred. Don't run from it. Feel it. Sit with it. Let it wash through you like a storm, because it is the death of the old self. And on the other side of that death, you will feel peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from being loved, but from finally loving yourself, not in some superficial affirmation, but in the deep, brutal, humbling acceptance of your full self. You no longer see women as salvation. You see them as mirrors. You no longer believe in the one. You believe in resonance, alignment, mutual clarity. You no longer think love is about rescue. You know it's about presence, responsibility, and spiritual growth. You stop asking, "How do I get her?" and start asking, "Who am I when no one is watching?" Because that's the man she will feel and respect. And this doesn't make you cold. It makes you dangerous, because your love is no longer cheap. Your energy is no longer scattered. Your presence is no longer a performance. It's real. It's rooted. It's rare. That's what makes the difference. The women you used to obsess over? You'll see them now. You'll smile. You'll remember the chaos they stirred inside you. And then you'll walk past them with grace. Not because they're beneath you, but because you no longer need them to reflect what you've already reclaimed. You've integrated. You've evolved. And here's what Jung would want you to remember. Desire is not the enemy, but unconscious desire is a trap. When you understand what pulls you, you are free to choose your direction, instead of being dragged through life by emotion disguised as destiny. This is true masculine power, and no one can take it from you. Not the rejection, not the heartbreak, not the ghosted texts, or the maybe someday goodbyes. Because none of it defines your worth anymore. You define your own value through stillness, through clarity, through alignment with your inner truth. This is what turns a man from lost to legendary, from wounded to whole. And if you've listened this far, you are already walking that path. So let me leave you with this. You were never weak for desiring her. You were simply unconscious of why. Now you know. Now you are aware. Now you get to choose. To chase again, or to rise above. To seek her approval, or to become your own source. To repeat the cycle, or to become the man who no longer runs from his shadow, but walks with it, hand in hand, into a life no longer ruled by projection, but built by self-mastery. This is your turning point. Will you take it?